Nathan Dunlap had his fair share of struggles growing up. His father was absent and his mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Nathan had several mental health issues as a child, with 2 suicide attempts before he was 14. He was also diagnosed with hypomania as a teenager. His troubles with the law started early as he was arrested several times for robbery and drug possession. In 1993, he started working at the Chuck E. Cheese's in Aurora, Colorado. He had an argument with his manager over his hours and this got him fired. This was the final straw, as he would come back later with revenge on his mind. Welcome to History's Biggest Villains. Nathan Dunlap was born on April 8, 1974 in Chicago, Illinois. His family had a history of mental illness that stretched back several generations. His mother, Carol Dunlap, was diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Her father, Garnett Jones, was also a schizophrenic who allegedly married 14 women, fathering 21 children. He would also physically and sexually abuse Carol. At least 2 of Carol's many half-siblings, Garnett Jones III and Lynn Jones, suffered from bipolar disorder, along with several of Carol's nieces and nephews. Nathan's younger brother, Garland, suffered from depression and was suicidal as a teen. His older sister, Adenia, has a son who was also diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Carol's mental instability led to several stints in a mental institution. Her manic episodes scared all of her children, as she would yell at them and beat them for no reason. During these episodes, she wouldn't eat or sleep, even waking her children up in the middle of the night to rearrange all the furniture in the house. She became hyper-religious, even joining a cult. She also became hypersexual, touching her sons inappropriately. She even tried to kill herself and Garland because she thought he was possessed by the devil. Nathan's stepfather, Jerry, was extremely violent towards Nathan and his sister, Adenia. They would beat the kids with belts, fists, and wooden rods for menial issues such as leaving soapy water in the sink after washing dishes or taking donuts from the breakfast area at a motel they were staying at. Nathan was the main focus of his abuse. Jerry apparently blamed Nathan for Carol's mental health problems. Jerry would throw Nathan against walls, hurl him down hallways, hit him with objects, and punch him. Carol testified at Nathan's trial that she didn't know about the abuse and assumed the noises she heard in the night were family members moving furniture. Wow, you're a great mother. Jerry also sexually assaulted Adenia for nearly a decade. The abuse began with fondling when Adenia was 9 and escalated to intercourse when she was 12. Nathan discovered this abuse when he was 15 and she was 17 by finding Jerry raping Adenia in the basement. After Nathan discovered this, Jerry began beating him more frequently and more severely. One day, Jerry came to the Burger King where Nathan worked and beat him up in the bathroom. Jerry later admitted his physical abuse of Nathan and sexual abuse of Adenia. He also told investigators that Carol Dunlap sexually abused Nathan as well. Jerry described an incident where Nathan was 8 years old and he discovered Nathan and Carol naked in bed together. Nathan was sitting between her legs and she was touching his penis. Carol's hospitalization records confirm her inappropriate sexual behavior with Nathan. All of this obviously affected Nathan as he attempted suicide twice during middle school, but for some reason, he didn't receive any diagnosis or treatment. His stepfather got him evaluated at 14 and it showed signs of hypomania. Several months later, Nathan robbed a dry cleaner's and a hair salon. He was found guilty of these crimes and placed in a series of youth homes. His erratic behavior at one facility led to his hospitalization at St. Joseph's. At least one mental health professional there expressed concern that Nathan might have an emerging thought disorder. Carol actively interfered with the rehab process during these out-of-home placements. For example, she terminated the family's counseling sessions, apparently to avoid investigation into the family secrets of physical and sexual abuse. Ultimately, no further efforts were made to diagnose or treat Nathan's mental health. In September 1993, Nathan's hypomania got worse. Over the next few months, he stopped eating and sleeping, and though he was always meticulous about his appearance, he became progressively more wild-eyed and unkempt. He constructed an alternate reality for himself, one in which he was not crazy like his mom, but was instead a cool, bad dude. He started carrying a gun and committed a series of armed robberies of local businesses. In May 1993, Nathan began work as a cook in the Chuck E. Cheese's restaurant in Aurora, Colorado. In late July, Dunlap and his supervisor had a disagreement over whether Dunlap would work additional hours beyond his scheduled shift. and Dunlap's supervisor fired him. The evidence at trial suggested that Dunlap was angry about being fired and felt that his supervisor made a fool of him. Later that summer, Dunlap told a former Chuck E. Cheese's co-worker that he planned to get even for the incident. He talked with other friends about robbing Chuck E. Cheese's and killing his former supervisor. Then on December 14th, 1993, while playing basketball with friends, Dunlap indicated that his mind was made up and that he was going to Chuck E. Cheese to kill them all and take the money. That night, shortly before 9 o'clock p.m., Dunlap went to the restaurant, carrying a concealed small caliber handgun. He ordered a sandwich and sat alone at a table near the front of the restaurant. Later, he played an arcade game, talked to an employee who had just finished their shift, and called his girlfriend. He learned that his former supervisor wasn't working that night. Then at some point after 9:50 p.m., he went into the men's bathroom and waited until the restaurant closed at 10. He exited the restroom after closing at 10:05 p.m. Nathan first shot Sylvia Crowell, 19, who was cleaning the salad bar. She was hit from close range in the ear and was fatally wounded. Ben Grant, 17, was fatally shot in the eye as he was vacuuming. Colleen O'Connor, 17, pleaded for her life and sank to her knees, but Dunlap fatally shot her once through the top of her head. A witness later testified that Dunlap said she went out like a soldier. Bobby Stevens, 20, the lone survivor, returned to the restaurant after taking a smoke break outside, thinking the noise he heard from inside were children popping balloons. As Stevens walked into the restaurant and unloaded utensils into the dishwasher, Dunlap came to the kitchen door, raised a gun at him, and fired a shot that struck Stevens in the jaw. Stevens fell to the floor and played dead. Dunlap then forced Marge Kohlberg, 50, the store manager, to unlock the safe. After she opened it, Dunlap shot her in the ear. As he was taking cash out of the safe, Dunlap fired a second fatal shot through her other ear after he noticed she was still moving. He took her purse and emptied it over her body. He then loaded the purse with approximately $1,500 from the safe, Chuck E. Cheese keychains, and arcade game tokens before he left. Meanwhile, Bobby Stevens recovered from his initial shock and left the restaurant through an emergency door, setting off an alarm. He ran to the nearby apartment complex for assistance. Shortly thereafter, paramedics arrived at the restaurant, but within a few hours, every victim but Stevens had died. Upon leaving Chuck E. Cheese's, Dunlap went to the nearby apartment of two of his friends, arriving shortly after 10 p.m. He described his crimes to his friend Carl Wilson, with whom he counted the stolen money, and asked Wilson to give him an alibi. According to Wilson, Dunlap said, "I did it. Chuck E. Cheese." Dunlap then went to the home of his girlfriend, Tracy Leckman, where he had a telephone conversation with his mother, Carol Dunlap. Tracy said this in an interview years later. "Him being the love of my life, I was like, I didn't want to believe what he had done. I didn't want to believe. It was just my Nathan that was there that night and he needed help. I gave him the clothes and let him take a shower and let him leave all that stuff in my house. Then later that night, the cops were coming to my house to look for his coat, but I never had his coat. Well, I was like, oh fuck, I got all this other shit. Fuck, I was like, I gotta get this shit out of here. I cannot let the cops find this shit. So I packed it all up, and my grandparents lived a couple blocks away at the time, and I ran it over to their house and I hid it behind their shed. And then as soon as I got back from returning from hiding this stuff, I saw the cops in the hallway coming up to my apartment, and they came in, and this whole time my mom was at work. So I'm doing this kind of all by myself." Later, she overheard Nathan asking someone over the phone if peroxide would remove gunshot residue. After this conversation, Dunlap washed his hands with peroxide and took a shower. The following morning, the police arrested Dunlap. Dunlap was found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, robbery, and burglary in 1996. On May 17th of that year, Dunlap was sentenced to death plus an additional 108 years. During his sentencing, he swore repeatedly in an outburst that lasted for 3 minutes. Tracy was charged as an accessory to the crime, and although she was 16 years old, she was tried as an adult and faced up to 6 years in prison. All through the trial, she continued to protect Dunlap. At sentencing, Tracy received 5 years of prison, but the judge said she could get out early if she completed 90 days of a Department of Corrections boot camp. After completing boot camp, Tracy's sentence was changed to 5 years of probation. In 2008, Dunlap filed a petition with the federal district court arguing that his trial attorney was ineffective by not presenting a defense on his mental health issues and child abuse. In August 2010, this federal appeal was rejected. Senior U.S. District Judge John L. Kane wrote that Dunlap was fairly tried, competently represented, and justifiably sentenced to death. On May 1st, 2013, Judge William Sylvester announced that the execution date for Dunlap would be in mid-August 2013. On May 22nd, Dunlap's execution was put on hold as Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper decided against executing Dunlap or granting him clemency and instead signed a temporary reprieve in 2013. The reprieve meant as long as Hickenlooper was governor, Dunlap would not likely be executed. According to Hickenlooper, one of the reasons he didn't choose full clemency was because Dunlap would have to remain segregated from the rest of the prison population. Groups, including the NAACP, contacted Hickenlooper requesting the sparing of Dunlap's life, arguing that the death penalty was disproportionately imposed on African Americans and Hispanics. Bro, you killed 4 people. You thought they weren't going to give you death? Like what? Race don't got nothing to do with that. Like, come on, man. The reprieve also meant that unless the governor issued a new executive order, the status of the execution and clemency request would remain on hold. On November 6, 2018, Gerald Polis was elected governor. During the campaign, Polis said that he intended to sign a bill repealing the death penalty in Colorado. Regarding the Dunlap case, Polis said that he had no problem following the current law and that he didn't think it was appropriate to comment on a specific case during a campaign before actually becoming governor and reviewing the case to make a reform decision. On March 23, 2020, Polis signed a bill repealing the death penalty. Polis also commuted the sentences of all 3 men on death row, including Dunlap, to life without parole. Dunlap remains incarcerated at the Colorado State Penitentiary in Kansas City. Like, this whole case, like, I will never excuse someone who murders innocent people, but the abuse that he was suffering was insane, and the fact that nobody got him mental help. Nobody got him help. The fact that he was already born into a situation where mental illness was so rampant that the people that were supposed to help him ended up hurting him and doing him even worse. But like I said, I will not say that he was justified in what he was doing, or the mental health made, or the schizophrenia made him do it. No, you made a conscious decision to go into a restaurant and kill people and shoot 5 people. You made a conscious decision and you killed 4 people. Like, you will not, you don't get sympathy for that, but you have to understand how insane the system is, that nobody gave him help. Nobody was able to nobody counseled him. That he was born to a situation to where his mother was mentally disturbed and all the people around him were mentally disturbed. So it was just a boiling, ticking time bomb at this point. But well, he's in prison for the rest of his life, and that's where he should stay. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate the support on this channel. Leave a like if you like this story. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. But thank you so much. Have a great day. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.